A generation is defined as a group of people born within a period of about 20 years who share attitudes and outlooks on the world. Usually there are momentous events that start or stop a generation. For example, the baby boomer generation begins with the end of World War II and ends around the high point of the Vietnam conflict. That is not always the case, though. The millennial generation, for example, starts around the year 1980, and while there was no significant singular event that begins this generation, its beginning is usually described as coinciding with the Reagan Revolution. The most senior generation in today's marketplace are called the matures. They're born prior to 1946. They're a conservative group. They're usually very patriotic, and many make the false assumption that the matures are forever loyal. That is not the case, and I'll talk more about them in an upcoming video. Their population in the US is about 30 million people, and they are celebrated widely in our society today as the greatest generation and the GI generation. Following the matures are the baby boomers. Beginning in 1946 and ending in 1964, the boomers are often described as a competitive and the first me generation. The phrase keeping up with the Joneses comes from observing the baby boomers. The boomers are also famous for their incredible work ethic. Next up is Generation X. Born between 1965 and 1979, Generation X is a smaller generation compared to the generations on either side of it. Numbering about 50 million, Generation X is most commonly known as a skeptical consumer, a pragmatist, and a bit distrustful of people who claim to be experts. They stalk products and services before they buy anything, and they put salespeople through the ringer. They are, however, a loyal group, but they're a lot of work. A lot. Finally, there are the Millennials, widely written about and widely studied. The Millennials begin around the year 1980 and go through about the year 2000. They're a very social animal, having been raised in group activities since their earliest years. They are technology natives and cite their comfort and ease with technology as one of their generation's greatest strengths. They are easily influenced by their parents, who are generally members of the baby boom generation, even well after they've left home and begun a life on their own. They also have a great influence over their parents, who look to their children to help them understand some of the features and options with different products. Now, in your interactions with different generations, you'll run into people who were born on the edge of two generations. They're called tweeners. For example, a boomer Xer tweener or an Xer millennial tweener. They usually favor one generation of the other, but they'll have characteristics of both. On the horizon today is a generation I call the iGen. Think iPhone, iMac, iPod, iGen. The oldest ones are just teenagers today and aren't making marketplace decisions in significant ways just yet. But my team and I are certainly keeping an eye on them. Now, let's talk a little bit about the exercises for each module. I'll ask you to consider your next 4 customer interactions before we start. Then you'll complete 1 page of exercises, mainly in the form of a chart for each generation. Write down what you know, what we know, and blend it together to provide you with tools for successful multi-generational interactions. As much as we don't want to have to write things down, the research tells us it significantly impacts retention. After viewing all the videos, return to your very first exercise about your next 4 customer interactions and adjust your plans. I want you to work with a colleague at this point, maybe even role play a sales pitch or a follow-up message with your colleague playing the role of your customer. And after you do all that, make sure you reward yourself. Engaging in training like this is a testimony to your hard work and dedication to learning. I congratulate you on taking these steps to ensure customer service success, and I know your customers will thank you too.